It's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Caren Ray. She's a member of the Board of Supervisors in San Luis Obispo County running for re-election. That election will be held in November. A big issue in this county, as many counties, is the question of groundwater. As we know, Paso Robles has a groundwater basin which is quite large and a lot of contention surrounding it. The ultimate desire is to create some local control over the groundwater basin. So talk to us about where we stand in terms of creating this Paso Robles Water Basin District.
Well, and let's back it up just a tiny bit. Our area, our entire county, has a much higher reliance on groundwater than on average in the state of California. So that puts the county of San Luis Obispo at a higher risk during drought years like this and during drought cycles like this. So we're seeing these problems all over. But the main issue in Paso Robles is, again, that there is just really no regulatory authority there. And it's really the wild, wild west still in Paso. So prior to my engagement with the Board of Supervisors, this was a road that they were walking for a little while.
Yes, you joined a firestorm, no doubt.
Yes, I did. I walked in right in the center.
Right.
Exactly. So we're in the middle of an urgency ordinance right now. We're almost to the day halfway through.
Right.
And what we did was we asked the community what they wanted, and two of the major groups of citizens there came together with the help of Frank Meacham, kind of procuring that meeting, to come up with an idea of how would we manage the peculiarities of this district. And there are what we call off-the-shelf districts. So it's a bit just like what you say. You would walk over to a shelf and you could pull out this one or this one or this one, and those have all been approved by the California State Legislature.
What's so interesting about water districts, you know, we always think about America as a one-person, one-vote nation. But as it relates to water districts, courts, high courts, appellate courts have ruled that it's not necessarily the case for the creation of water districts. You don't necessarily have to deal with a one-person, one-vote scenario. Is that fair?
Well, that's true, and so that's the issue. Is if you take, for example, a California water district, the mechanisms that are set up within that, like an acreage-based vote, both for formation and voting rights, it really comes out of what kind of constituency that district is designed to represent, and it's designed to represent an agricultural type district. And in Paso, we do have that, but we also have residents and homeowners. So therein lies what we're trying to achieve with the hybrid district, which does not exist.
And but it looks like it will. We know that Assemblymember Cacho Ashajian, who represents this county, has been working diligently to create a scenario in which all stakeholders can agree. It looks like we're there. It looks like it's going to be a blended scenario whereby those with large plots will get a few more votes than those with smaller plots?
No, it's the other way. The way it is, the hybrid district will be 9 members.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
And 3 members will be elected at large.
Right.
And then of the 6, they're equally divided into 2, 2, and 2, small landowners, medium landowners, large landowners. So it's a balance.
It's compromise. Complicated, but compromise at its best.
Absolutely.
It took a long time, but y'all got there.
Exactly.
And so when do we expect the district to open? Is that the right way to say it?
Well, that crystal ball is still fuzzy, but I can explain a little bit about process there. So where we're at right now is at the time of this taping, it's now gone through the Senate, introduced by Bill Monning, who is our state senator. So that has passed through. It is expected to work its way into the Assembly and pass there. That is what we're expecting.
And we'll see what happens after that.
We'll see.
And when we come back, we'll talk more about the drought in California. For our viewers on HLN, thank you so much for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back with Supervisor Caren Ray. So let's talk more about groundwater. I think it's a pivotal issue in San Luis Obispo County, on the Central Coast, and the entire state. You know as well as anyone that California is one of few, if not the only state that does not regulate groundwater. You're looking for some local control of groundwater with the basin and the district, but we know that as we speak today, there's some legislation marching through the legislature that would create a framework for groundwater regulation. I want to talk philosophically about it, not so much the Pavley-Dickinson legislation. What do you think about the notion that groundwater be regulated?
Well, it depends on how you define that. And when you talk about regulation and the way that you said it, it sounds like what you're talking about is limiting and in what way, and prescribing in what way people can use water. And that, I think, is really, really way down the line a huge regulatory issue. I'd rather back that up to the beginning of the argument, which is, does the state and do decision makers have the right to meter and monitor? Regulation of the outcome of that is a whole nother thing. So we're not far enough down the road in California here. It is going to be big enough to get metering and monitoring across across California.
You're absolutely right. Along those lines, another element of this discussion is who will do the regulation. As we speak today, it seems to be that the voices in favor of local regulation of groundwater are triumphant. But the question becomes, if a locality doesn't regulate, should the state step in?
Well, I think again, it becomes, what is the state actually going to step in to do? And we don't know the answer to that right now. We're all, we're in the middle of arguably the most significant legislative session with regard to water in California state history. And it is changing by the minute.
Literally.
So, yeah, quite literally. And so, I think as it winds its way down through the legislative process and gets to what is actually going to get passed, the first steps are, and everything that I'm seeing as part of the legislation, the proposed legislations, is to really underscore, the state of California is underscoring that local control is what we want, but if local control doesn't happen, then the state will first provide resources to allow that local control to happen, and then after that, if local control still doesn't happen, then the state will step in. That's over the course of many years. I'm hearing benchmark dates that are probably still being negotiated.
But in your county, for example, it would appear that the local county will step in to engage on this issue. I mean, like you said, groundwater is a significant resource for this county. So would you expect that SLO will take its authority with severity, with alacrity?
Well, I think that then in that case what you're talking about is AB 3030 powers. And what that is those are the powers that once adopted by a county, those are the powers that give the county the ability to do the things that you're talking about. Right now in the North County, in the Paso Robles groundwater basin, we really have a very weak AB 3030 plan. So we would not be able to do that right now under the current flood control district. And because there is no regulatory authority in San Luis, well, there is, it defaults back to the Board of Supervisors in the form of the flood control district.
I want to ask you about South County. Very different issues than North County.
Absolutely. It's not different issues, it's different solutions.
Well stated. And how is it going?
Well, the issues are the same. We have dry wells in Los Barros Canyon. We have groundwater basins that are being overdrawn.
But you're not part of the Paso Robles water basin. That goes
No,
more
it's
north.
a separate basin. It's a separate basin. It's the Santa Maria groundwater basin. It has been adjudicated. So even our AB 3030 powers are moot. They're not in effect. We do, however, still have our police powers as the county flood control district. So we really our control is limited with regard to land use. We're not a water purveyor in South County.
We've been so focused, the state has been so focused on Paso. I feel like I want to know what's happening in South County.
That's what I've been saying.
Yes. How is it going? How are y'all doing?
Well, it's really tough right now because we do have a basin that is really being pumped past safe yield, and we also have a basin that has been adjudicated, and that adjudication really only covers about 2/3 of the basin. So there's about 1/3 of it that's still unregulated and not covered by the adjudication.
In which county?
In our county.
It is in this county, not Santa Barbara.
Right.
Okay.
So if we've got 1/3 of the users in the Nipomo Mesa management area that are unregulated and not covered by the adjudication, but it's in the adjudicated basin, so we don't have AB 3030 powers.
Very complicated, but I'm glad you're here to help us parse it out. Her name is Caren Ray. She's a supervisor in San Luis Obispo County. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.